Hello, friends. I missed you all so much yesterday. I am so glad to be back with all of you today. And my, the breaking news is really something. Matt Gaetz, how many of you saw this one coming? I was unsure, but I'll let you know why I think he withdrew as opposed to what the rumors are that are going around about his withdrawal, because we have to understand that Republicans have a very big appetite for misogyny and sexual violence against women. So I don't think that was the thing. All right, friends, let's get into it. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. I missed all of you yesterday, but as I've been telling folks, especially those that receive their health care through the ACA, please make your doctor's appointments, get your vaccines, get your shots, because in 2 months, you could lose health care. And so yesterday I was out doing exactly that, hitting up all of my doctors and getting all of my shots. So I was sorry to not be here with all of you, but yay, we're back and it's breaking news. So let's get things started. Matt Gaetz, y'all. Matt Gaetz, who is Donald Trump's nominee for the top cop position, the Attorney General of these United States, has withdrawn himself from consideration. Now, earlier this week, Matt Gaetz went to Capitol Hill with JD Vance to corral support, right? To shore up support for his nomination. And the fact is after that trek around Capitol Hill, he realized he didn't have any support. Now, like I said at the top, folks want to talk about, well, it's because, he's been under investigation. It's because of, the underage girls and sex and drugs and all of these things. No, it's not. Let's be clear that the same people who have been kowtowing for an adjudicated rapist, a man that was caught on audio talking about the fact that he could grab a woman by wherever he wants, the fact that he was found guilty of 34 felony charges, right, for payouts to a porn star. It is not Matt Gaetz's sex with underage girls and potentially trafficking them and paying for it, right, that had Republicans on Capitol Hill say, oh, I think that this is a step too far, because they love themselves some Donald Trump. So that is not it. It's the fact that they hate Matt Gaetz. Like, that's it. Matt Gaetz is an asshole. And he has burned a lot of bridges, both inside and outside of Capitol Hill. And people don't like him and they don't trust him. Right. So while I celebrate this fact that he shouldn't have been nominated in the first goddamn place, because I said to you all after the nomination came out, that I think one of the biggest things that he might have done as a lawyer is get people fishing permits. And all of a sudden he was going to be in charge of the Department of Justice. Now, before we all, break our backs, patting ourselves on the back for this, the fact is that he is not a liked person. But we know that Republicans have a appetite for misogyny, right? For sexual violence. I mean, just look, right, at the thread that runs through Donald Trump's appointees. And I'm going to go even so far back as to Brett Kavanaugh, right? Brett Kavanaugh was accused of sexual assault right? And we heard the testimony, we listened, and Republicans backed him 100%. So much so that they buried other credible reports in a drawer that the public didn't learn about until after his confirmation. So again, we know that sexual violence against women is not a bridge too far for Republicans. So while I'd love to say, oh, it's because they've developed some type of conscience, or maybe it's sex with a minor that is, the line that they won't cross, miss me with it. I don't think that they give a damn. I just think that he is a sleaze and he is an asshole and he doesn't understand the actual first rule of politics, which is that you befriend everybody, right? Because you never know where those people are going to go, how high they're going to rise. But he had a burn the bridge mentality the entire time that he's been in Congress. Now, there are other folks that are saying that, okay, well, he's resigned, so now he's unemployed. You have to remember that he resigned from the current Congress. He didn't resign from the upcoming Congress that is going to be sworn in January. So it is quite possible that Matt Gaetz walks right back into Congress as an elected official, or Donald Trump finds him a space in his administration that does not require Senate confirmation. So, the reality is that Matt Gaetz is pretty much like a fucking gremlin and will never go away. But I do love the fact that he is not going to be attorney general, but who are they going to put up next? Muppet? We don't know. Like Kermit? Like, we have no idea. So we will see. But right now, I'm happy. It's a win. And we take little wins where we get them, but we should be very clear as to why he's not going to be in. Because here's the other thing, right? You have Pete Hegseth from Fox and Friends, whose police report also came out this week. Now, to be clear, he was never charged for the sexual assault that is in that filing. He was not charged, but there is 22 pages, right, that lay out the assault that happened at, y'all get this, the alleged assault that happened, get this, at a Republican women's conference. I mean, could you be more on the nose there, honestly? But evidently, he was chummy with a lot of women that were there. This one woman who they refer to as Jane Doe was intoxicated, went up to his room. She tried to leave, and then the sexual assault, as per the report, occurred. And so here's my thing. As big as this Republican Party is, you can't find somebody to nominate that hasn't assaulted women. Like, is it a glitch? No, it is actually a feature of the Republican Party that I think garners you more support if, in fact, you've brutalized a woman, right? That Donald Trump will probably see that as you being a man's man, because it's always these men, Matt Gaetz, paying for sex, right? Like the New York Times, by the way, put together a diagram of all diagrams of all the flow of money that he has been sending out to two women. One of them was 17 years old at the time, that he was sending money via Venmo and PayPal for sex, right? And then you have Hegseth. These are men who want to talk about the roles that women have, right? These stereotypes, and they're predators. Like, that's why they think the way that they do. But they think that their power over women is what makes them masculine. That's what makes a man a man. And it's that type of sick thinking that is now going to be even more pervasive in our patriarchal, misogynistic society. Because how do you now point to the president-elect and say, oh, isn't he now a model for young boys and girls everywhere that this is just how men act? And when you look and you see the people that he is putting in his cabinet, what a lot of them have in common is the fact that sexual assault, sexual harassment is a part of their resume. And that is disgusting. But that's Donald Trump. That is Trumpism. So at this point, yay, that Matt Gaetz will not be the attorney general, but Lord only wait, because if we think that we can't have a worse pick, I am certain there is another gutter person that will be floated to the top, that because Matt Gaetz is so unlikable, that this person will be passed off as the norm. Miss me with it. Other things that you can miss me with. Nancy fucking Mace. So Nancy Mace right now has some type of transphobic crusade that she is on right now. And this is how Nancy Mace makes a little name for herself and fundraises by attacking the first openly trans member of Congress, Representative Sarah McBride, who was duly elected by her constituents in Delaware. And so Nancy Mace has taken it upon herself to introduce legislation that will ban Representative Sarah McBride from using the women's restroom in the Capitol. And she has gone so far now as to introduce another piece of legislation that would ban trans women, trans people from using the restrooms in Dulles Airport and Reagan International Airport in Washington, D.C. Now, I want you all to really look at this picture here, right? Because this is what Nancy Mace found herself doing around Capitol Hill, because this is what is important to her constituents. This is what it looks like when Republicans say they're quote unquote working for the people, to run around and go ahead and slap biological above the women's restrooms. And to the other side of her photo is a picture of a white woman in front of a whites only women's restroom, circa Jim Crow. Now, if you all did not watch, I dropped a short a few hours ago where I said segregation is alive and well. Because here's the thing that I want folks to really take in, is that the same people who are talking about transgender folks in a bathroom are the same people that spit on Black children trying to integrate schools. They're the same people, right, that are right now talking about mass deportations. They're the same people that were walking around Charlottesville talking about Jews will not replace us. This is segregation, folks. The tactic remains the same. It's the target that changes. So all you have to do is look at Nancy Mace's bill and take out the word transgender and put in the word Black, put in the word Muslim, put in the word Jewish, put in the word immigrant in its place. The discrimination, folks, remains the same. The target changes. So for people that want to come for me and tell me, no, you can't equate these things with Jim Crow, you can't do that, miss me with it. Because I do not believe in or participate in the hierarchy of discrimination. Because to me, discrimination is discrimination. Because today, it's trans people. Tomorrow, it's going to be back to Black people. The next day, it's going to be back to Jewish people, and then immigrants, and then whoever else they want to put in place. So you allow this shit to fly now, then just wait until your number is called, because it will be called, because that's how bigotry works. No one is safe. So I put this picture back up here because I want people to understand right? That what pisses me off right now is that there are just a couple of Democrats that have come out to stand up for Representative Sarah McBride. You've had AOC, who came out and was on video, and she said this, quote, "What Nancy Mace and what Speaker Johnson are doing is endangering all women and girls, because if you ask them, what is your plan on how to enforce this, they won't come up with an answer," right? And she goes on to state the fact that, what do you want to do? So if a woman is wearing pants, or if they have a more masculine look to them, who gets to decide what is feminine and what is not? What is a woman? And so what are you going to do? Now stand in front of bathrooms and have women drop their pants? And then who is going to do the inspection? This obsession that these people have with other people's genitals is sick, and it's twisted. But it's also a pattern and a part of history. And this is why I bring these things up, because folks need to connect the dots. And what pisses me off even more is that Democrats should be speaking from the same hymnal at the same goddamn time. Discrimination is discrimination, and call this what the fuck it is, which is segregation, which is Jim Crow 2.0. Say what it is, right? Don't get into a debate back and forth about, whether or not trans people should be able to do X, Y, and Z. That's their argument. And you would think by now that you wouldn't fall for their bullshit rope-a-dope. That you would just say, so you're a segregationist. And then let them defend themselves and tell you how it's different. Because it's not. And this is why I'm telling you, tell the truth. Tell the truth, right? We don't need euphemisms here because they're not using euphemisms with us. Their plans are very clear. And so I'm going to call a name because language is powerful. And when we use euphemisms, instead of saying segregationist, instead of saying bigot, right? We normalize this behavior and say that it's okay because, it's trans people. If it wasn't okay, if you look now back in history, and it wasn't okay when it was done to Black people, and it wasn't okay when it was done to Native Americans, and it wasn't okay when it was done to Jewish people and Irish people and Italians, and the only reason why white supremacists let those other groups in is because their numbers were dwindling. It's the same shit that they're doing right now with white Latinos, right? And Asian folks, the people that brought the affirmative action case that overturned affirmative action. You see, white supremacy doesn't have the fucking numbers. So they will always let people into their club and say, come on in. But then once they have those numbers, they will turn on those very same people. So if we turn a non-seeing eye to this shit and do not call it out, it persists like the cancer that bigotry is. Let me move on before I absolutely lose it today. So, speaking of truth tellers, I love Representative Jasmine Crockett. If you were to tell me, Danielle, ask me this question: who should the Democratic Party in its revival be modeled after? I'm going to tell you Representative Jasmine Crockett for a whole host of reasons. And this is one of them.
You can then misuse words like oppression. There has been no oppression for the white man in this country. You tell me which white men were dragged out of their homes. You tell me which one of them got dragged all the way across an ocean and told that you are going to go and work. We are going to steal your wives. We are going to rape your wives. That didn't happen. That is oppression. We didn't ask to be here. We're not the same migrants that y'all constantly come up against. We didn't run away from home. We were stolen. So yeah, we are going to sit here and be offended when you want to sit here and act like, and don't let it escape you that it is white men on this side of the aisle telling us, people of color on this side of the aisle, that y'all are the ones being oppressed, that y'all are the ones that are being harmed.
Y'all, let me tell you something. That is how you give a read, okay? Because these MFers, these Republicans, want to sit during a meeting, during a hearing, introduce legislation about dismantling DEI. It was on C-SPAN, right? That's where this clip is from. Talking about we need to dismantle DEI because white men are oppressed. Bitch, where? And rather than allowing that to just go, right? Rather than allowing that to just sit, Representative Jasmine Crockett brought them to the test. Because here's the thing. If you ask them, show me where the discrimination is, you're going to deport all of these people. Our agricultural industry is going to grind to a motherfucking halt. Or is there going to be, right, a bunch of white men running out into the fields? Also, when have white men ever run out into the fields? Except to rape, beat, and torture those that were working there. I have time today, y'all. I have time today.
That Republicans are trying to bastardize the term DEI to be a slur. When Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was up for confirmation and when Vice President Harris was added to the ticket, they called them DEI hires. They want you to believe that a Harvard graduate with over 20 years of experience, who happens to be a black woman, is not qualified, but a Fox News personality is qualified to run the Department of Defense, and the WWE executive is qualified to run the Department of Education. Let's be real. There is an attempt to create a direct correlation between our race, being a black person, and our qualifications. So much as to say that there is no way to be a black woman. There is no resume that a black person could have that would qualify them unless that black person is a Republican. And there is a quota there.
And let me tell you something, unless that black person is a Republican, have you all looked at Donald Trump's cabinet? Because it looks all white to me. Right? So all of those black Republicans that have been out there stepping and fetching for Donald Trump, he didn't see fit to put any of them in charge of a goddamn thing other than being a fucking mascot. And I said what it is that I just said. So that was Representative Summer Lee. And she, again, is also sitting there and saying, so you want to talk about DEI. You want to talk about, quote unquote, didn't earn it. But you're telling me that a Fox News host can be the Secretary of fucking Defense? Right? You're telling me that Matt Gaetz has a resume that could run up against Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson? Miss me with the bullshit. Okay? Absolutely miss me with it. It is a disgrace what these people are doing right now and telling us that this clown car that they call a cabinet is worthy of the positions that Donald Trump wants to put them in. It is not enough that he already in himself degrades the office of the presidency, but he must also bastardize the entirety of the U.S. government with these people and then have the audacity to turn around and come at people that look like me and tell me that we're not qualified? Because what is disqualifying from the jump is the fact that we were born with black skin. Let me tell you something. I don't have time for it. I don't have time for it. And I am so grateful to representatives like Crockett and Lee who are out there telling the truth. Because I'm telling you, I don't know which job I would hate more right now than possibly being a member of Congress that has to go to work each and every day next to these kinds of people, the Nancy Maces of the world, right? That are there specifically, right? To just cause fucking harm. Like, that's what they're there to do. They're not there to do any good work. Do you recognize that the entirety of Donald Trump's campaign was about who he was going to harm? It wasn't about who he was going to help. Even the people, right? The white people that he say are so aggrieved, what is he offering them? Because the last time I checked, as people have memed and said, kicking a trans girl out of, let's say, a basketball team in high school is not going to make your cis kid any better than they fucking are. So, deporting a bunch of hardworking, undocumented people in this country who are seriously paying into a system that they don't even get to benefit from is not going to make your coffers richer. It's actually going to hurt you more because you're raising the price of goods. But let me not get lost in logic that falls consistently on non-listening ears. Speaking of which, most recently, Chris Murphy gets on that God-forsaken platform. Because what are Democrats so good at? Like just beating themselves up, right? Just pointing fingers and laying blame. If that were a sport, Democrats would win the gold year after year after year. So here's Chris Murphy. Quote, the child tax credit increased ACA subsidies and student loan forgiveness helped people. All good policy. But it didn't move people emotionally to our side. Why? Maybe because most people don't want a handout. They want rules unrigged so they can succeed on their own. What? So thank you so much to Shannon Watts, who set this motherfucker straight. She writes, or young men didn't vote for ACA subsidies because they're still on their parents' insurance, thanks to ACA. They didn't vote for the child tax credit because the burden and cost of childcare largely falls to women. And they didn't vote for student loan forgiveness because most of them didn't go to college. Oh, but let us not talk about facts, right? Let Democrats do what it is that they do, which is point fingers and just continue to move themselves further to the right. Republicans are off a goddamn cliff. Republicans are off the cliff. And guess what it is? Democrats keep chasing them. And so this is what I said the other day, folks, when I said, you know, people always ask me, Danielle, when is it going to be time for a multi-party system? And I'm going to tell you right the fuck now. Because you see, Republicans are getting set to burn this country to the ground. That's what they're doing. You see, none of these people that are being appointed to these cabinet positions actually need to have qualifications, because don't get confused. They're not actually there to do the job. They're there to burn it down. So you don't need qualifications to do that. You just need a flamethrower. And that's what these people are. They are flamethrowers. So when you have, right, a bunch of people that are set to burn the country down, and understand that there are so many systems that were never set to help all of us. That is what is the gift in a Donald Trump re-election, is the reminder, right, that these systems were not built for Black people, for people of color, for women, for queer people. They were built solely with white, cis, hetero, pseudo-Christians in mind. And so if they are going to destroy this government in the next several years, then the question for us is, what are we building? What are we going to build from the ashes? And so I say, yes, it's time, because the Democrats keep doing shit like what Chris is doing here, and what I've seen too many people on social media doing, pointing fingers and laying blame. and not doing any of the conscious work of understanding what went wrong, that you don't chase the people who have not voted for you since the 1950s, since the Civil Rights Act. If that doesn't tell you shit about white men and white women, stop chasing them, right? Invest your time and your energy and your work into the growing multiracial democracy that we are seeing inside of this country. So we have to understand, folks, as we come out of this election haze, that there are often opportunities that are locked inside of the obstacles that are placed in our way. And the opportunity that I am beginning to see that is becoming clearer to me is that these systems that the Trump administration is getting ready to destroy were never working for all of us to begin with, but we were fine with a patch-up job, right? We kept putting spackle and new paint on top of rot and calling it reconstruction. It ain't. So if sometimes things need to be burned down, and trust me, I wish that that wasn't the case. I wish that America had decided to move this country forward with Vice President Kamala Harris. I wish, right, that they cared more about the collective than they did the individual, but that is not where we are. And so I asked the question yesterday, did MAGA really break America or did it reveal America? And I believe in the latter. It revealed America. And so in this moment of darkness, we have the opportunity to be the lanterns to tell the truth, because this thing is, I don't want a fucking spackle job anymore. I don't want to keep repainting the same broke down fucking White House, right? I want a new goddamn building. And that's where that is, in my mind, that is exactly where we need to move this conversation. And people like the Chris Murphys of the world, they're not there. They're not there. You can't keep looking to the past and keep recycling the same old people through and tell me that, oh, a new day is going to come. A new day going to come with the same old fucking people? I don't think so. And so if it takes, unfortunately, collective pain for us to then process what this country can be and work towards that, then that is going to be what it is. Because then you see stupid shit like this, which is people are breaking down on TikTok because they just realized Obamacare is the Affordable Care Act. The heartbreaking part, so many have pre-existing condition. One man admitted he voted for Trump without knowing it was Obamacare that allowed his mother with stage 4 cancer to get treatment. This is what happens when misinformation wins out over facts. This is what happens when you allow stupidity to reign supreme. I mean, the foolishness here that people thought, oh, I am voting against the ACA because I don't want that Obamacare, but not realizing it's the same shit. And that's what's keeping you and your family alive? Y'all, and they want to, and they're gonna blow up the Department of Education. Well, it seems like the education that we've been getting has not been that great. Okay, so that's the thing that we actually need to really understand here. Here's another thing. A couple of things are happening abroad that just make me realize truly how backwards the United States is. So right now, Brazil's federal police have indicted former President Bolsonaro and 36 other people. If you remember, Bolsonaro was called Trump of the Tropics, and he loved it. And Bolsonaro tried to do the same shit that Donald Trump did, which was go tell his people to go storm the Capitol in Brazil in order to win him the election. But unlike January 6th, the police in Brazil weren't fucking having it, and they arrested those people on the spot. And guess what? Now they're actually going to charge and put on trial Bolsonaro and 36 other people. Now, wow. Can we get their attorney general? Because the one that was in charge of this country over the last 4 years has been asleep at the fucking wheel. Then you have Salvini, who is prime minister in Italy, is on trial for denying immigrants into the country and keeping them who were trying to dock and keeping them in poor conditions. And when he was told that their conditions were dismal as he was denying them entry into Italy, he is now on trial. Marine Le Pen, another right winger, the Trump of France, also on trial for her lies and deceit and corruption, right? So you see the trend here is that seemingly everybody else but America can manage to get the fucking job done and put their people who are actually a detriment to democracy in their country on trial. So, folks, America has not been the shining beacon on a hill for quite some time. But when I saw these news reports breaking today about all of these right-wing folks who, again, what is happening inside of the United States was not like this new thing. There was been a right-wing push around the world. But seemingly other countries woke the fuck up while America has been in a deep, deep slumber. And so, here's hoping, folks, that at some point, right? We may not see it, right? But at some point, America will right the ship. That at some point, we will get back to, right, a starting point where we can build anew. And again, not slap paint on the rotting building, but actually create and build something new. Because let's look at this last thing here today before I get out of here. You know how we love to look at the uber wealthy and we say, they're so smart. They're such geniuses. Look what they've built. Well, let's all look what they've built, shall we? Here, Elon Musk loves to talk about how safe Teslas are and how their autonomous driving systems are safer than humans. But new data from the U.S. road safety regulator shows Teslas have the highest rate of fatal accidents among all U.S. vehicle brands. But this is going to be the new co-head of government efficiency, a man who has created cars that, kill people. That's not even to look at the ugly piece of crap that I've seen in my neighborhood that, what is it? The dumpster on wheels? That one that also implodes, apparently. Everything he touches, much in the same way that the things that Donald Trump touches just seem to turn to shit. And now he's in charge of efficiency. Him and Vivek. God help us. All right, my friends, it has been a week here. And I want to say thank you so much for all of you showing up. We hit 8,000 this week, 8,000 subscribers. And now we're well over 8,000 subscribers. So keep sharing these videos, comment, and subscribe. The algorithm loves this and it puts it in everybody's For You page. We are continuing to build an incredible community here. I thank you so greatly to the moderators that keep the chat section, just live and invigorating and also safe, a safe space, right? Where we can gather Monday through Thursday and connect with one another so that we don't feel alone in this darkness and this haze. So I thank you to the moderators that show up, that are doing this work. I really appreciate it. And to all of you who have given donations and super thanks. As I say, this is what independent media is, right? I am a truth teller. I am a storyteller, and I don't get paid for this work. So your donations go such a long way to allowing me to continue doing this work for all of you, because I think that it's needed, right? I think that it's necessary, because as we see, these cable news numbers, y'all, they ain't rebounding. They are tanking out. And it's because people are tired of being lied to. They're tired of the bullshit. They're tired of the Mikas and Joes that go run off to Mar-a-Lago because they're afraid and want to go kiss the ring. They're tired, right, of the euphemisms. They just want people to tell it like it is. And so I'm so grateful for each and every single one of you that donates, that contributes, that likes, subscribes, and shares these videos. We can continue building. And I'm excited for what the future holds, at least here on this channel. Maybe not in the country, but I'm excited for what the future holds here. So thank you all so very much. And I will be back here on Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, and Lord only knows what tomorrow and the weekend will have in store. But like I continue to tell all of you, you do not need to follow every buzz and blip on your phone, right? Like, find time to recharge, find time for joy, find time to connect with people in real life. Go on walks. I say all of this to you as I need it for myself, as a gentle reminder. And so I appreciate every single one of you. Have a brilliant, beautiful, and relaxing weekend. And I will be back here 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday. As always, dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, please do stay safe. See you on Monday. Have a great weekend.